Chapter 7 Queer Lodgings. The next morning, Bilbo woke up with the early sun in his eyes. He jumped up to look at the time and to go and put his kettle on, and found he was not home at all. So he sat down and wished in vain for a wash and a brush. He did not get either nor tea, nor toast, nor bacon for his breakfast, only cold mutton and rabbit. And after that, he had to get ready for a fresh start. This time, he was allowed to climb up on an eagle's back and cling between his wings. The air rushed over him, and he shut his eyes. The dwarves were carrying farewells and promising to repay the Lord of the Eagles if they ever could. As off still close to the eastern edge of things. The morning was cool, and mists were in the valley, and hollow and twinned here and there about the peaks and pinnacles of the hills. Bilbo opened an eye to peep and saw that the birds were already high up, and the world was far away, and the mountains were falling back behind them into the distance. He shut his eyes again and held on tighter. "Don't pitch," said his eagle. "You need not to be frightened like a rabbit. Even if you look rather like one, it is fair morning with a little wind. What's finer than flying? Bilbo would have liked to say a warm bath and late breakfast on the lawn afterwards. But he thought it better to say nothing at all, and to let go his clutch with just tiny bit. After a good while, the eagles must have seen the point. They were making for, even from the great height, for they began to go down, circling around in great spirals. They did this for a long while, and at last the hobbit opened his eyes again. The earth was much nearer, and below them were trees that looked like oaks and elms, and white grass lands, and a river in the pass, and a river running through it all, but cropping out of the ground right in the path of the stream was looped itself around it, was a great rock, almost a hill of stone, like a last outpost of the distant mountains, or a huge piece cast miles into the plain, or some giant among giants. Quickly now to the top of the rock, the eagles swooped one by one and set down the passengers. "Farewell," they cried, "wherever you fare, till your eyelids receive your at the journey's end." That is the polite thing to say among eagles. "May the wind under your wings bear where the sails and the moon walks," answered Gandalf, who knew the correct reply. And so they parted. And though the Lord of the Eagles became in after days the king of all birds, and wore a golden crown, and his 15 chieftains golden collars made of the gold that the dwarves gave them, Bilbo never saw them again except high and far off in the battle of 5 armies. But as they comes in at the end of this tale, we will say no more, and it just now. There was a flat space on the top of the hill of stone, and a well-worn path with many steps leading down it to the river, across which a ford of huge flat stones led to the grassland beyond the stream. There was a little cave, a wholesome one with a pebbly floor. At the foot of the steps, and near the end of the stony ford, here the party gathered and discussed what was to be done. I always meant to see you all safe, if possible over the mountains, said the wizard, and now by good management and good luck I have done it. Indeed, we are now a good deal farther east than I ever meant to come with you, for after all, this is not my adventure. I may look in on it again before it is all over, but in the meanwhile, I have some other pressing business to attend to. The dwarfs groaned and looked most distressed, and Bilbo wept. They had to begin to think Gandalf was going to come all the way and would always be there to help out of difficulties. I am not going to disappear this very instant, he said. I will give you a day or more. Probably I can help you out of your present plight, and I need a little help myself. We have no food and no baggage, and no ponies to ride, and you don't know where you are. Now I could tell you that you are still some miles north of the pass which we should have been following. If we had not left the mountain pass in a hurry, very few people live in these parts, unless they have come here since it was last down this way, which is some years ago. But there is somebody that I know of who lives not far away. That somebody made the steps on the great rock, the Carrock, I believe he calls it. He does not come here often, certainly not in the daytime, and it is not too good waiting for him. In fact, it will be very dangerous. We must go and find him. And if all goes well at our meeting, I think I shall be off, and wish you, like the eagles, farewell whenever you fare. They begged him not to leave. They offered him dragon gold and silver and jewels, but he would not change his mind. We shall see, he said. And I think I have earned already some of your dragon gold when you have got it. After that, they stopped pleading. Then they took off their clothes and bathed in the river, which was shallow and clear and stony at the ford. When they had dried in the sun, which was now strong and warm, they were refreshed. It's still sore and a little hungry. Soon they crossed the ford, carrying the hobbit, and then began to march through the long green grass and down the lines of the wide-armed oaks and the tall elms. And why is it called the Carrock? asked Bilbo, as he went among the wizard's sides. He called it the Carrock because the Carrock is his word for it. He calls things like the Carrocks, and this one is the Carrock before it is the only one near his home, and he knows it well. Fu calls it, Fu knows it. The somebody I spoke of is a great person. You must all be very polite when I introduce you. I shall introduce you slowly, 2 by 2. I think you must be careful not to annoy him, or heaven knows what will happen. He can be appalling when he's angry. Though he is kind enough if humored. Still, I warn you, he gets angry easily. The dwarves all gathered round when they heard the wizard talking like this to Bilbo. Is that the person you're talking to us now? They asked. Couldn't you find someone more easy-tempered? Hadn't you better explained it all a bit clearer, and so on? Yes, it certainly is. No, I couldn't not. And I was explaining very carefully, answered wizard crossly. If you must know more, his name is Biron. He is very strong, and he is a skin changer. What? A furrier? A man that calls rabbits conies? When he doesn't turn their skins into squirrels? Asked Bilbo. Good gracious heaven, no, said Gandalf. Don't be a fool, Mr. Baggins. If you can help it, and in the name of all wonder, don't mention the word furrier again, as long as you are within 100 miles of his house, nor rug, cape, tippet, muff, nor any other such unfortunate word. He is a skin changer. He changes his skin. Sometimes he is a huge black bear. Sometimes he is a very great, strong, black-haired man, and with huge arms and a great beard. I cannot tell you much more, though that ought to be enough. Some say that he is a bear descendant from the greatest and ancient bears of the mountains that lived there before the giants came. Others say that he is a man descended from the first men who lived before Smog. The other dragons came into this part of the world, and before the goblins came into the hills out of the north. Not north, I cannot say though. I fancy the last is the true and trail. He is not the sort of person to ask questions of. At any rate, he is under no enchantment but his own. He lives in oak wood and has a great wooden house. And as the man, he keeps cattle and horses, which are nearly as marvelous as him. They work for him and talk to him. He does not eat them, neither does he hurt or eat wild animals. He keeps happy and hides of great fierce beasts. And lives more on cream and honey. As a bear, he ranges far and wide. I once saw him sitting all alone on the top of the Carrock at night. Watching the moon sinking towards the misty mountain. It had him grow in the tongue of the bears. The day will come when they will perish, and I shall go back. That is why I believe he once came from the mountains himself. Bilbo and the dwarfs had now plenty to think about, and they asked no more questions. They still had a long way to walk before them. Up slope and down dale they plodded. It grew very hot. Sometimes they rested under the trees, and then Bilbo felt so hungry that he would have eaten acorns if any had been ripe enough yet to have fallen to the ground. It was the middle of the afternoon before they noticed that the great patches of flowers had begun to spring up at all the same kinds growing together as if they had been planting. Especially there were clover, waving patches of coxcomb clover, and purple clover, and wide stretches of short, white, sweet, honey-smelling clover. There was a buzzing and a whirring and the droning in the air. Bees were busy everywhere, and such bees! Bilbo had never seen anything like them. If one was to sting me, he thought, I should swell up as big as I am. They were bigger than hornets. The drones were bigger than your thumb, a good deal, and the bands of yellow on their deep black bodies shone like fiery gold. We are getting near, said Gandalf. We are on the edge of his bee pastures. After a while they came to a belt of tall and ancient oaks, and beyond these to a high thorn hedge, through which you could never see nor scramble.